I was born April the 4th, 1955. Born in Kingsville, Texas, Claiborne County. We are part of the King Ranch. My grandfather was born and raised in the King Ranch. Her name was Guadalupe Alvarez. Grandmother is Benilde Rodriguez Alvarez. My understanding is that she is from Monterrey, or was from Monterrey, Mexico.
Okay.
And she did migrate this way. We're very proud of her. She taught herself how to speak English, read and write, and she became a citizen. My father worked for Missouri Pacific Railroad. He started out in Kingsville, Texas. He also did some work in Harlingen, Freeport, down in San Antonio, and then he finally landed here in New Braunfels with Missouri Pacific.
Okay.
He was a car inspector.
Okay.
He was very proud of that. He used to say that if a train derailed, they couldn't put it back on the track unless he was there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. My mom was a housewife. She was also from Kingsville, Texas. Her family surname is Cortez. According to Mom, I want to say that she said they met downtown. Downtown Kingsville. They used to like to go out there, during the weekends and stuff. And I believe that's where they met. I'm kind of almost sure that's what Mom said. He's deceased already. My older brother is Alfonso Alvarez, very well known as Big Al. In Kingsville, Texas, he was known as Tiny Alvarez. In junior high, he was named Biggest Gridiron. In Kingsville, Texas, even bigger than the gridirons from Texas A&I.
Wow.
Then the second born is myself. The third born is my sister, Belinda Alvarez. Okay, Belinda, as we moved over here, she became very popular in school. She graduated from high school and went into the Navy. Did 20 years with the Navy. Retired as a chief petty officer. And she was also an air traffic controller. At present, she's working for Union Pacific Railroad station in Spring, Texas. Then the last born is my baby brother, Richard Alvarez. Everybody knows him as Rick Alvarez. His major growing up was here in New Braunfels, and he had the run of Lando Park. Everybody knew who he was. He became part of the aquatic club. He used to go and sit up with the lifeguards there at the swimming pool. He was also a band member for the New Braunfels High School. And as he got out of high school, Richard became a reserve for the New Braunfels Police Department at the age of 19. From there, he migrated into the Sheriff's Department, became part of their outfit. And he worked many years there until the time that he was accepted into the State Trooper School for Texas. And he retired about 2, maybe 3 years ago, and still lives here in New Braunfels, but went back to work for the Sheriff's Department. He doesn't know how to stay out of a uniform. I myself, growing up in Kingsville, we lived in an area that was known as the Colonia. In English, is the colony. Okay, my elementary school was maybe about half a mile away. I had to walk. It was, kind of a real nice little town to grow up in. Everybody knew everybody. Everybody watched out for everybody's kids and stuff. My junior high was the same distance in the opposite direction. I had to walk to my junior high. I remember my mom sending me off on errands to go to the store to buy groceries for her because we didn't have a car at the time. So I would go, and I had to run to the town. I wasn't afraid to migrate at any side of the town, Everybody knew who we were. I stuck out like a sore thumb because I was a blondie then. So no matter where in Kingsville I went, they'd go, Rosie, we're going to tell your mother that you're way over here. So I thought that was really neat, that everybody would look out for everybody's kids, and basically, it's just like a little two-horse town. Very nice, very quiet. The community was, very tight. So, yeah. In Kingsville, Texas, we weren't really involved. When my mom first really got involved with the community, was when Head Start first came out. And that was like a long time ago, 65, 67. She got asked if she wanted to come in and help the teachers with the students that were coming in. So Mom got involved with that. Mom was always involved with the PTA and stuff like that. She knew our teachers very well. We had to behave. We had to behave because my mom was very, very, again, well known amongst the teachers because she was always in the PTA. One of the teachers was my godmother. And I was the one that was more of a, kind of like headstrong. And I remember my mom telling me one time, if I hear that you're talking back to the teachers, Rosemary, I'm going to have a sit down with you. Yeah, so I couldn't act up in school. I couldn't because they would tell her. I remember one time I got into trouble and I had to write lines, I will not talk in class. And somehow it got back to her and she asked me and I just go like, no, Mom, that's, ooh, when she found out that I like, ooh. I had to run for my life. Yeah.
Well, did you have any favorite teachers there in Kingsville?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I did. His name was Leonel Garcia. He was my homeroom teacher. And what I liked about Mr. Garcia was that he used to like to teach the Hispanic kids the finer things of life. Okay? I remember that he taught us how to place a table correctly. And he taught us which utensil we were supposed to use, how to lift the glass, how to sit up very straight with hands down this way. You're not supposed to be. So Mr. Mr. Garcia was he was a special kind of teacher. I do know that he was military. I don't know too much about his military life. I just wish there were more teachers like him.
Do you know about what grade that was that you had?
That was the 5th and 6th.
Oh.
And this was during the time that they started teaching the elementary 5th and 6th graders how to change classes. They were preparing us to go into junior high. So he started that program there for us.
Okay.
So yeah, no, Mr. Leonel Garcia was something else, so he was my favorite teacher, yeah. I only went to my middle school for the 7th, the 7th grade because in 68, that's when my dad moved us here. He wanted to bring the family back together. Dad was more, and it's not in a negative way, but he was more of a weekend father because he had to follow the railroad. And he's always told us, you follow the railroad. Railroad was very much like the military. You're going to go where they send you. So if they needed him in Harlingen, he had to go to Harlingen. If they needed him in Rockport or Freeport, that's where they would take him. So he finally landed a permanent spot here. So he felt like, you know what, it's time to bring the family together, and that's why he moved us here. I had just passed to the 8th grade, so I went to the middle school here in New Braunfels. It was very, very different, but not so different that we didn't fit in, When Dad first brought us, watch this, this is funny. When Dad first moved us into New Braunfels, he moved us into the west side of New Braunfels, into the Rosedale apartments, okay? And it's really funny that when he took us there, we found out that we had another family from Kingsville, Texas, that was also living there. So it was easy for us to adapt here. In school, I was always, I guess because of the fact that we were so close to our teachers in Kingsville, when we moved this way, it was easy for me to connect with our teachers. And like, I always stuck out like a sore thumb because I was, I'm the rambunctious one, so, very spirited in school and stuff like that. So it was easy for me to adapt. and the teachers never really had any problems with their teachers. The principal was Mr. Carnell, you know, and it was easy to go talk to him. Um, you know, Never really had any problems, you know. I became really active in the sports when I became a freshman in high school. I was involved with the track team. I was involved with the Unity Club. The Unity Club was the club that Miss Schaefer kind of brought together, and it was during the time that you had your Hispanics, the whites, and the African Americans coming together, and we became just one big unity here at the school. So it's basically what it was based on, the togetherness, let's all become just one. And it was nice. It was really, really nice. I can remember that I remember that we used to get together, bring out the ideas of how to get the rest of the students, more involved in the activities in school. We always had a small float for the parades, and that's. I don't remember that we had any bake sales or anything like that. I don't think that we did. But it was more getting together, just having a get together and stuff like that. The Unity Club went on, I think, for a few years. I got out of it when I was my sophomore year. I became very rebellious in school my sophomore year, due to the fact that our freshman year, our girls track team, there were some of us that qualified to go to regional and state, and they didn't allow us to go to those meets because it was not sanctioned under UIL at the time. So that means we could not go. So my sophomore year, I came back pretty rebellious about it. I'm not proud of it, but I would skip school, skip classes and stuff like that. And I remember one day, Mr. Smith, who was our principal at the time, calls my mom and lets her know what's going on, right? So then my mom I'm really surprised. My mom defended me. She says, well, if you all would have not denied her to go to these meets that the girls had qualified for, she would not be rebelling the way she's rebelling. So Mr. Smith tells my mom, well, girls track has been sanctioned now by UIL, and if she doesn't settle down or straighten up, we will not allow her to come back her junior year to be part of the track team. So my mom tells him, well, then you need to sit her down and tell her that, and you have my permission. So that's exactly what happened. They called me into the office one day, and I'm all, smarty pants, like, what do you want? And he goes, I remember so, like it was just yesterday, Tiny Alvarez, you need to have a seat. And I sit down. He goes, you need to settle down. I know that you've been doing that, this, and this, right? And I prove it. And he goes, and I'm here to tell you, young lady, that if you don't straighten up, you will not be allowed to become be part of the girls track team next year. Oh, you're going to start that again? It's not under UIL. And he says, no. He says it got sanctioned. And all of a sudden, I just sit back like, oh, shit. It's in good voice. I go, really, Mr. Smith? Did it really get sanctioned? He says, yes, it did. He says, Tiny Alvarez, I'm telling you right now, you will not be allowed to be part of the track team if you don't straighten it up. And I knew he meant business. And I thought about it for a little while, and I said, yes, sir. You're going to see a new Tiny tomorrow. Horns came off and the halo came off. and the rest is history. I became part of the track team. So
Okay.
For my junior and senior year, we did well. The girls did very well. I did qualify for district and regional and all the way to state, and I'd get myself kicked out at state. We had some stronger girls out there, but I did give them a good competition out there. So both junior and senior year, I was, very good in what I did. I did discus and shot put. I was too stout of a gal to be in anything else. You know, I wasn't cheerleading material. I wasn't tennis material. You know, I wasn't the dance team material. So track was my outlet. It was my what I used to do. You know, and what I loved and where I excelled. Oh, I did a lot of things. I went to go work for the textile.
Okay.
Okay, I was one of the three women that actually made it to work in a male dominated department. It was called the roving department. There are machines called slubbers, and these slubbers were machines that would stretch and bring the cotton into a thinner state, and it would be wrapped onto a bobbin. The machine would wrap it onto a bobbin, and then once the bobbin was full, we'd take it off of we'd open up what we call the flyers to take the bobbins out, and then that once we got them out, that was sent up to the spinning room where again it would be stretched, made thinner into thread. So I used to be in that one department. So I was there for a good 4 years. And then I got married and got pregnant with my first child. I left the mill and decided to go do direct care. Direct care is I was working for Colonial Manor.
Okay.
Okay. And then from there, I went to school to become a registered lab technician. I went ahead and finished that school and started working for the health department in San Antonio in 1981. I stood, let me see, I want to say that I stayed there about 3 to 4 years. And then from there, I moved into the environmental field. Being the fact that I had the technical work in the laboratory, the environmental field, what I used to do was to go out and we would monitor all of the waste generators. So we would go in and get samples, the wastewater samples, to see what they were dumping in there. They have to meet certain parameters, through EPA, and I went into that field. So because I had the lab tech experience, which when I was working for the Texas Health Department, not only did I do blood work, but I was also working with water bacteria. So that kind of gave me the you know uh, the knowledge for me to be able to move into the environmental field because I knew what I was testing and messing with the wastewater and stuff, setting up certain machines to go ahead and collect that sample. So yeah. Then from there, I stayed with the city of San Antonio. I stayed about 9 years with them. Then I moved into security. I became a commissioned security officer. I stayed on and off, did that on and off for about 15 years. Believe it or not, I started off with Pinkerton.
Oh, really?
I started off with them. Then I went and got my commission. Then I moved into, I left them for a little while and moved into a private security company, which was called, at the time was called Texas Professional. And that we used to take care of like little bars, dance halls. We did a lot of the farmers market security when Fiesta was around and stuff like that. At one of the little dance halls on the south side of San Antonio one evening, my beat was at the Little Red Barn. And I got off of there and came to that little dance hall to make sure that everything was okay because the week before that, there was a stabbing. So my sergeant was working there, and I went by there and told him, did he need help, or asked him, do you need help? And he goes, no, Rose, we're okay, you can go on home. And right before I was to walk out, this gentleman came in, had a gun in his boot. And it just so happens that when my sergeant went to pat him down, the guy mouthed off and said, "Next, you should be checking boots." You see, and we don't understand why he said that, right? So all of a sudden, I see my sergeant pushing the guy out. So I went down there, and the guy's going down into his boot, and Randy, my sergeant, like he's not he's not sure what he's doing, and I go, Randy, watch out, he's got a gun. And Randy moves out of the way, and I take cover, and the guy, has him practically at gunpoint. So I was the one that shot off the first round to get him out of the way. And, you know, Randy moved out of the way, was able to move out of the way. The guy turns around to shoot at me. Of course, I take cover. He fires off a round, and he runs across the street. Well, across the street and about a block further down is an open field. So he had to cross a flea market to go into that open field. So while that was going on, I got on the phone, called, SAPD, and I asked, bring the canines. So they did. And when they got there, somehow the guy, I guess he dropped his jacket or something, and the dog picked up the scent. So the dog followed him into the open field. So we're following with PD, and all of a sudden they get into, a crossfire. And then he turns my way, and we get into a crossfire also. And then the next thing we hear is a yelping because the dog disarmed him. So the dog bit off his finger and tore up his upper thigh. So the dog was able to take, the guy must have thrown the gun or something, lost the gun somehow. So yeah, that's basically what happened. Then later on, come to find out that the field that we had that exchange of fire is the property where the police academy was built. So, it made newspaper, big old story, so I'm kind of proud that I christened that ground for the police department.
What?
Back then, you didn't see a whole lot of women in the arm wrestling sport, let alone Hispanic women. When I would show up for a tournament, I would say at least about 10 girls would show up. And I was always the only Hispanic one that would show up. But now, oh my God, now it's really grown. It's become very technical. The directors in the leagues are very safety oriented. You can get a broken arm from arm wrestling. Since I've been back, I've seen 3 arm breaks. We had an all-ladies tournament up in the Dallas area here not too long ago. And we did have a young lady that went through an arm break. So safety is very important when it comes to arm wrestling. It's very, very important. When I'm out there, I promote the children and the women. I don't let you pull on my table until I know for sure that you do understand the safety fundamentals of arm wrestling. I don't want to see anybody hurt. So my director is the same way, Dustin Laughlin. He runs the San Antonio Arm Wrestling Association, and he is part of the Texas Arm Wrestling League, and he's very, very big on safety also. It's really hard because, women's work is never done. So women have children. A lot of times they can't find somebody to sit with the children. So for us, we always try to have a practice in a family-oriented area, so that those that want to become arm wrestlers but have children can bring their children. And we're one big family. Let's say, for example, if your wife wanted to be an arm wrestler, but you all have kids, she comes to our practices, and the rest of the girls, while she's practicing, we're watching the kids, and we just become very motherly towards everybody else's kids, and that's what makes it successful. If it's a woman without kids, we would hope that the husband would, push her along, like, come on, honey, you can do this, you can do that. And usually the husband's an arm wrestler also. So they're out there practicing with them, We're getting pretty good at it. It's growing. I'm going to say we've got about 10, maybe 15, on and off, So, and it depends where the practice is being held, what day of the week is being held, if it's a Friday or Saturday. You know, so if maybe, let's say if you have a couple that maybe has 2 or 3 kids, and maybe let's say one of the kids may have a football game, or if that plays a big part whether they're going to be at the practice or not. But yeah, it's growing. It's growing. When I first started in the 80s, I was very, very quiet. You know, I just, because I had kids, I would just show up, do what I had to do, and come back home. But now, now that I came back and tagged myself as Grandma Rose. So I'm very well known as Grandma Rose, and everywhere they see me, they welcome me with open arms, but they also welcome the other women with open arms now. It's like, you know, we're not shunned, to one side or forgotten like it was back then. We come in and, everybody, hey, hi, and stuff like that. They welcome us with open arms, and they want the women's arm wrestling to grow. They want it to grow. The girls are more into their weight management. Lifting weights. They're out there working out. They know now that they have to do certain exercises, to condition their arms, to strengthen their wrists. They have what they call side pressure, back pressure, and this is stuff that I never heard of when I first started. So I kind of like myself am learning, you know, what arm wrestling has, how it has evolved into the sport that it is today. So, you know, my director, he says, Rose, you got to do this, and you need to what's it called? They use all kinds of names, and you need to do. And what's that? That's I just get up there and no, you can't do that. No. You need to pronate and supinate, and I go, oh, what's all that? And side pressure and back pressure, and I'm going like, I'm having to learn all of that stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's evolved into a totally different monster here. Venues are real nice venues, again, we try to find venues that are family oriented, and stuff like that, so we can bring the kids, and it's just a whole new ball game, and it's fun. I was invited to a practice about a year ago. Somehow Dustin Laughlin found out about me and found me on Facebook, and he extended an invitation. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. So of course I wasn't going to miss it. So I was going to just show up to see, what was going on. And the next thing I know is I'm at the table, and I'm pulling, and the girls got excited. I sat down and told him my history, and I kept telling him, don't say nothing, because then the girls won't come pull, stuff like that. But the very first tournament that I went to was down in the valley. He invited me to go, and I decided to go, and I wasn't going to pull, because I didn't, I just went to go spectate. Next thing I know is they have me up at the table pulling with the girls from the valley, so of course I beat them, and the gentleman from the valley, when he was interviewing me, he says, I told him what my history was, and he goes, well, y'all remember the name Rosie, and I said, no, it's Grandma Rose, and it took off like wildfire, so I'm known as Grandma Rose. Everywhere I go, it's Grandma Rose, and I tell them, you are all my grandchildren.
Oh.
So yeah, and I don't shun anybody. I don't care what team you're on. If you're hurting, I'm going over there. I'm going to be rubbing on you and making sure that you're okay, making sure that you're safe and whatnot. So, and I just love the sport and love everybody that's in it, whether it's male or female. So I'm out there to promote the kids. The highlight of every tournament is the kids, and you should see the parents. They go crazy when they see their kids up there pulling. And that's the highlight of a tournament, is watching the kids pull. And we do have different age groups, depending how old they are and how many actually show up. We could have anywhere from 5 to maybe 10 kids, And then we'll have the teens. The teens, you have anywhere between 5 and 10 teens that show up. So it depends who shows up is how many times you're going to see a pool go down. The youngest that I've seen pool is maybe 4 years old.
Wow. Okay.
4 years old. They start real young, all the way up to 18. So yeah, and then we have girls and boys, also in that age bracket. And sometimes we have girls pulling against the boys. In the grown-up section, it's men against men and women against women, and we
Okay.
do have different weight classes.
Okay.
Okay, now they have started. That's not doesn't always happen, but they have started where some of the stronger girls will challenge, one of the guys. And they'll go ahead and do, what they call a super match or, a special, match, and the girls will go up against the guys. And some of these girls can put, you know, put these guys away. So yeah, it's getting very interesting. I love it. I think it's come a long way. I really enjoy watching the girls pool. I'm right there with them. My daughter has also gotten into the sport. She's doing very well. I won't pull against her. She's a strong girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's very strong. She loves it. She's got her own arm wrestling table. It was given to her by our president, Billy Ortegas. My daughter, when she first came up and I was pulling with her, I noticed that, I was taking her down every time until I told her, away from the table, I'm your mother, you're my daughter. When you come to the table, I'm the one you want to beat. I'm no longer your mother. You're no longer my daughter. You come to the table, you're going to pull to beat your opponent. And she took it to heart, and now I can't. She's strong. I can't pull. Once she got that mindset, now it's hard for me to beat her. And the girls, I had a girl that I was training with her, practicing with her and whatnot, and we went to a tournament. This one was in Odessa, and they do our names, and it came to where we were going to pull against each other, right? It's all right, So I had my mindset, and I think she had hers too. But when we went in for the pull, she could have pinned me like that, and I don't know what happened. Something back there must have said, that's Grandma Rose you're pulling against. And she let me have the pin. And I was very upset about that. So once it was all over with, I called her over to the side. Got her husband, hey, Chad, come here. I go, Bree, do you want to tell me what that was all about? She sits down. I go, that pin should have been yours. What happened? I don't know, Grandma Rose. I felt the pain in my... No, you're lying. What happened? She looks down and says, I'm going to tell you what happened. Because Grandma Rose practices with you and she's teaching you, you felt that you shouldn't beat me. You were trying to respect me, but instead you disrespected me because you gave me the pin. And she says, yes, Grandma. But don't you ever do that again. Ever. I go, like I've told you girls before, away from the table, you're my best friend, At the table, I'm the enemy. I'm the opponent that you want to beat. She goes, yes, ma'am. And now she's gotten stronger. And she'll get in there, and I have a hard time pulling her. But she's gotten very good. And she smiles. And when they beat me, I just wink at them like, that's what I want to see.
Yeah, you kind of have a trademark look when you're wrestling, when you're arm wrestling.
Yeah, you hear them saying, don't look at her eyes, don't look at her eyes. Don't look at her eyes. Don't look into her eyes. And yeah, the girls will listen to Yeah. Yeah. I enjoy watching all the girls pool. I don't have a favorite one. They're all my favorites. And it's hard because when they're up there, who am I going to cheer for, I can't, I can't just cheer for one, I'm cheering for both of them, because they're all really good.
It seems like there's really a community of support.
We do. We
For
have
sure.
a lot of support from the guys. We have a lot of support for each other. It's more like a sisterhood. We care about. I care about the one that's in Dallas. I care about the one that's in Houston. I care about the ones that are out of state. And we all stay in communication with each other. So yes, it's very special, very strong sisterhood.
So what do you see in your future for arm wrestling?
Well, I'm getting older. you know, um, my arm isn't what it used to be, but I do get in there and pull every once in a while. I give them a good pull. I guess I'll be Grandma Rose and pulling till I die. You know, and I tell them I'll be in a wheelchair. Just put me in front of a table, and I'll pull. And they kind of laugh. But they see it in me. They see it in me. And these young girls, they're tough. They're tough. But I'll get in there and show them who Grandma Rose used to be. So yeah, I'll be there till they tell me we don't want you no more, or till I die. So, yes, ma'am. It's open for everyone. We want to see you guys there. Give it a try. You never know. You may be the next champion, and you're not going to get hurt if you learn the safety fundamentals. And we're there. That's what we're there for. We welcome everyone, males, females, kids. They're all welcome. And I would like to see everybody there. Yeah. Closest you can to the table. And then the first thing we teach them is you're always squared, because the table is like this. You have your pad here and here. You've got your grips over here, and you have the little pad in front of you. So the first thing we teach everybody is you're always squared this way. Especially for the girls, this is a little bit more difficult. Okay? But we teach everybody, squared away. Okay, the next thing we teach you is give me a little fist. Okay, now bring the shoulder in. Bring the shoulder in. Okay. Pretend that you're gripping over here. Just something. The next thing we teach is your hand never goes past. Your hand should always stay inside the shoulder.
Okay.
Now I'm going to show you what happens when it goes past it. Okay. You feel that?
Yeah.
You feel that?
Yeah.
Okay. So we teach you not to open up and not to look away, because what's going to happen, your opponent is going to break, and that's what causes the arm break right in here. Okay. So you're always here. Let's put this a little bit more over here, like you're holding something over here. Okay. So and come in. There you go. So this is going to be right there in front. Okay. And your vision should always be on your hand all the time. Okay. And then you pretend that you have a little cup there, and whatever's in that little cup, you want to pour in there. So you're going to bring your hand this way in there, just like I would pour something in there. Okay? Just bring it in a little bit more. There you go. But this stays over here. It's just your shoulder. Okay. So then you're going to pull. When you pull, you open up. You're going to be up high. Knuckles will show. The referee will make sure the knuckles are showing. And when you pull, you're going to pull towards you over there. Go ahead and pull. Right. So my arm's going to be going this way because you're pulling that way. Okay. Of course, we're stretched out a little bit. So I'm holding over here. You're holding over there. They make sure that we're centered. We're straight. Always up high. Okay. Knuckles are showing. When you pull, you want to come and do this. Okay. And remember, you're going to pull there. That's where you want to pin your opponent. It's right there. Not across, but right there. Okay, and you don't lift your elbow. Your elbow has to stay in the pad. Okay, when you're looking, you don't ever open up and look away, because that's when the arm break happens. Okay? So okay, go ahead and pull. Yeah, towards you, down, down. Okay, there you go. See? Up high, straight.
Interesting.
Go. There you go. Pull towards you down there. Pull. Ooh, she's got a strong pull. Pull down. Further down. Yeah. Very good.
You're really strong.
But that's basic.